Do you know that as dads and as husbands, some days we just can't be sick? It's just not an option. And today's one of those days for me where I don't feel great. I don't know what's going on. There's stuff flying around. It's early winter, and but my wife is super sick, and stuff has to get done. We are doing a lot with our kids. I'm doing a lot for work. I got to make these videos. I got to do everything. So I'm just not going to be sick. And it sounds crazy sometimes, but we do have this reserve of universal energy, this spiritual power, this might that we can plug into and access at any point in time, but only when we're really aligned with our role as husbands and as fathers. And when you know who you want to be, you can get what you need to get from the cosmos, right? And I want to get into that today because a lot of guys get into this whining and complaining. They wish their wives were this or that. They wish their kids were this and that. And it's this really draining energy that only takes, it doesn't give. And if you really want to be like present and enjoy this ride of being a father, being a husband, and really get the most out of life in general, like you didn't have kids to yell at them. You didn't have a wife just to throw her away and divorce her or whatever. We love our kids, we love our wives, but things aren't always easy, especially when we're out of alignment, right? So in terms of being sick, like as I'm making this video, I feel tremendous. But prior to it, I had a bit of a headache that was coming in, and I have a little bit of dry mouth because there's something coming in for me, some virus. But again, the mind, when it is clear, it can impact the body in profound ways. It's the placebo effect is very real, right? But we have to access our identity first, and that gives us this chemical response, this biology that is profound. So your identity needs to precede that. Now, I wanted to talk about like when you have a pregnant wife, she stops being, especially like third trimester, she starts waddling a little, she can't move. Some women experience a lot of sickness in the first and second trimester. But basically up until that point, like in your marriage, you have like this partner and you guys do stuff together and it's just kind of equal. You try to do 50-50, in terms of stuff around the house and money and whatever. You try to have like a fair complementary relationship, but a lot of women become very incapable of doing many things that like physically and even mentally, emotionally because of hormone stuff. And then you got to step it up. It's either you kind of start complaining and be like, what, we're supposed to go for a run. What are you blaming the baby? You got a little weight in your midsection and now you can't climb a mountain, right? I think a lot of guys, it's really hard for us to understand what they're going through, so we can lack empathy. But it also happens after the delivery, right? There's postpartum stuff that a lot of us don't get educated on, like postpartum depression in some cases, definitely more hormone stuff, just a lot going on. And so all of a sudden, you don't have a partner. And like for me, I definitely remember after our second kid, so we have 3, after our second one, my wife went through like this dark phase where she was not feeling good, and we had a brand new baby, and I had a job and another kid, and it was like too much. At a certain point, it was like too much. But I remembered this fact that, wait a second, there's this thing called God. There's this spiritual reality that we can access. And I don't mean like summoning spirits. I'm talking about energy that you can plug yourself into to have more clarity, focus, more power, to get through your days and enjoy them. Because if you pinch yourself off from that realm, from that spiritual reality, you just start to be tired all the time. You get scatterbrained and frustrated, and it's a sludge fest. It's just like climbing up a muddy mountain. It's just agony, right? But all of a sudden, you start learning breathing techniques. You start learning how to cope with stress better. And you realize this is not so bad. And especially this all happens when you make the shift to be like, wait, I signed up for this. Parenting wasn't always going to be easy, but it's going to make me a man. It's going to make me powerful. And it's the greatest thing in the world when you step into that role, into that character. So it's like going through a tunnel. But a lot of times we whisper to ourselves, we have the self-talk like, oh, why does this have to be so tough? That makes it tougher, right? When you focus on something, it grows. And so when your problems are the focus of your attention and you feed them with your emotion, then they start to grow and they eclipse all the good stuff. You miss all the good stuff because you're focusing on the difficult stuff, right? So there's this definite tug of war of like self-pity, a little pity party. We're like, oh man, I don't know what's wrong with me, or it's their fault, or everything's wrong. It sounds facile. It sounds overly simplified, but just shifting your focus to, you know what? This is going to define me. This is like, these are the golden years. And like, luckily for me, honestly, I was up for the task. No matter how hard I got, I found a way to get by. And I'm so glad I made that investment, because I think the most stressful times are the ones that we remember the most. Meaning, like when you have a newborn baby, the first couple of years of a baby's life, they're so demanding. They can't do anything. Babies are idiots. They can't walk, talk. They can't blow their nose. You got to do everything for them. They can't cough. They can't eat. They can't do anything. One of my babies couldn't even drink milk because he was tongue-tied, so he had to get surgery. Anyway, they can't do anything. And so it can feel, if you're out of alignment, like, oh, this is so hard, I'm so tired. And the more that you say things like, I'm so tired, guess what? You will find every opportunity to feel tired, to bask in your tiredness, and now that's your identity. But again, when you start to shift a little bit, just a little bit, and it doesn't mean that you're not tired, but you don't focus on it. You're like, this is fun. And you start thinking about like how cute your baby is and how beautiful your wife is and how amazing this whole experience is, that you have a wife and a kid and they're all healthy and they survived, which was not possible. Like a couple hundred years ago, most babies died. Like it was like a miracle for a baby to live past a couple months, and many women died. So men would just have okay, next, they'd have like a list of their next wife, and like they'd have to have a catalog of a newer model of wife because their wives would die from childbirth all the time. Like, we're living in this era when you can have babies and survive. It's amazing, right? But you miss all that when you're focusing on how tired you are. And so the fantasy of like it being easier, it's so tempting to like dwell on that. But again, you miss out on all the magic of growth that you're being afforded, because it does get easier. And it's a skill set that you're acquiring of how to get through this phase of life. And so going through this tunnel is the thing that we want to avoid. And this is true of anything. Any difficulty in our life, especially when you're being squeezed as a father, like when life is just like squeezing you, it just feels so tight, like there's no breathing room, like there's the bills, there's kids, there's responsibilities and all this stuff. When you can't breathe, it's this tendency for many men to want to escape. They do this through alcohol, through porn, through just running away physically or mentally or emotionally. They're just not present. But you miss out on all the growth and you remain stuck on the other side of the tunnel. This tunnel is dark and it's scary and it's uncomfortable. Just like in Indiana Jones, the walls are crawling with bugs and snakes and stuff. It's not pleasant, but that's the only way we can actually grow. There's no shortcuts here. There's definitely ways that you can learn, and again, skills, and I can make more videos about breathing techniques and like different types of prayers that you can do or whatever. But these just help you manage your emotions to still get through that tunnel. Doesn't make the tunnel go away. It just means that you're more efficiently going through the tunnel. You're not stopping and crying and digging a hole or running back to, some fallacy of like the past. You're just doing it. You're going through this tunnel. And so the discomfort is not punishment. It's not like, why me? Especially if you had kids, like you chose to have kids, or even if it was a mistake, you kind of chose because you did the deed. So now it's your responsibility. But as soon as you start to claim that responsibility, it starts getting, I don't want to say it gets easier. The resistance stops and it gets clearer and there's less resistance. So you're doing it with power and enthusiasm, and things start flowing and momentum comes on your back, and all of a sudden you got it. You can do this. So the tunnel isn't there to trap you. It's designed to transform you into the next best version of you. So you're stronger than you know, for sure. And in terms of sickness, like I remember this lesson very strongly. I had this he's kind of like my boss. I was doing this volunteer work and I was like really good at it and I never missed a day. But one day I got sick and I woke up early and I was like, look, I can't go out and do my responsibilities today. I'm super sick. And he's like, no, you're not. And I was like, trust me, I know myself and what I feel, and I feel sick, and so I'm sick. And he's like, you're not sick. I was like, oh, come on, man, I don't have time for this. I just feel sick. He's like, okay, how about this? Go have a cold shower and then come back out and tell me you're sick. And I was like, ugh. And when you're sick and when you're complaining and whining, it's the last thing you want to do is like have more discomfort. But I was like, fine, deal. I'll prove to this guy that I'm sick. I'll go have a cold shower and I'll be sick and I'll be like, screw you, I'm sick. So I turned on the cold shower, I got in there, and then, a few seconds into it, I was like, oh man, I'm not sick. It was totally in my head. And that isn't to say that sickness doesn't exist, right? But a lot of times it's just not nearly as bad as we thought. It's just like we're focusing and we're growing it. It's masticizing. It's I don't even know that word. It's just spreading. It's getting worse. And when you can kind of remember who you are, again, align yourself, you just get all this power. So that day I went out and I also learned a great lesson. And yeah, I don't have so many sick days because even when I'm sick, it's like I still have stuff to do, and not because I have to do it. It's like a burden. It's because no, there's life. And when you have life coursing through you, somehow your body gets better very quickly. This idea of like every pharmaceutical that actually gets tested, any drug or anything that they put these trials through, they always allow for the expectation that 30 to 40%-ish of people are going to have this placebo effect, which is they get the exact benefits of the drug that they're creating without it actually being the drug. It's just like the mind thinks that it's going to be healthy and it fixes itself. It's a miracle, right? So much of it is about your belief systems. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. So the practical truth is, like, you can't necessarily control all the thoughts and feelings that come to you, but the idea is that they don't drive you and your decisions and your actions. They're in the back seat and you're driving it, and you acknowledge these feelings and you work with them, but they don't control you when you're in control. And who's in control is somebody who knows who they are and what they got to do. So as a dad, it's unbelievably important to remember why you signed up for this role as a husband and as a father. And the more that you do that on the regular, then you can manage discomfort so much better, because it's there to help you grow and to get better at it. And I can unpack many different types of discomfort in different videos, but this is the men who actually, sorry, I turned off my mic, actually go through this process of managing discomfort, working through it and going through these dark tunnels. They're going to be the ones that inherit the earth. Most people are running away from discomfort and they are shying away from growth, so they're stuck. So life is nothing but difficult. But if you want to be like the man of your dreams, the man that you want to be, then it really requires you to adapt. And that's what adaptation is all about, is learning how to adapt and to never stop growing. And then you just realize that any discomfort is just a part of the game. It won't be there for long. You'll grow past it and it'll make life so much easier in the long run. Hope this was helpful. See you in the next video.